Opposing Trump doesn't make you smarter. It just makes you look like you're playing the victim card to win votes. That was the remark from Karoline Leavitt, former White House press secretary and a rising, sharp-edged figure on the conservative. Right. Her target? None other than Jasmine Crockett. At that moment, Jasmine didn't reply. No smirk, no raised hand. She simply looked up, locked eyes with Karoline, and asked one calm question. If he's wrong, would you dare say it? No one was ready for that. Not the media teams, not the producers, and certainly not Karoline. Silence swept through the room. The host froze for a beat. Karoline wet her lips, glanced around, and stammered. I think we need to look at the bigger picture. But by then, the moment had already landed. The room had seen what it needed to see, because in that instant, every layer of moral posturing collapsed, not through argument, but through the absence of one. The truth wasn't shouted, it simply stood there, waiting. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your state or city. Like Georgia here, tuning in from Nevada. I'm in Illinois. Let's see how far one honest question can travel across America. And if you believe one question can change the conversation, stay with us. Because after that night, nothing was the same. The program aired live on a Wednesday evening, prime time when most viewers weren't tuning in for policy, but for a clash between two visions. On one side stood Karoline Leavitt, youthful, articulate, the face of the modern conservative media class. Once behind the White House podium, she'd branded the press as political vultures and earned personal praise from Donald Trump. On the other side sat Jasmine Crockett, civil rights attorney, Democratic congresswoman from Texas. Not flashy, not chasing sound bites, but every time she spoke, she left behind something quieter, questions that stuck. The topic that night felt worn. Have Republican leaders stayed silent too long in response to Trump's most extreme rhetoric? But the conversation took a turn when Karoline smiled and dropped a casual line. I don't think criticizing President Trump is brave. In fact, it's the fastest way to get attention these days. Jasmine didn't flinch. She simply turned a page in the folder on her desk. The host leaned in. Are you implying Congresswoman Crockett is using Trump criticism as a political tactic? Karoline nodded, clearly prepared. Exactly. I find it ironic that some claim to be defenders of democracy, yet spend their time attacking one man instead of offering ideas. She's not debating on substance, she's just emotional. Light applause followed from Karoline's side of the room. The camera cut to Jasmine, still silent. But it wasn't avoidance, it was precision. And something felt different this time. Karoline was saying things she hadn't always believed. Just months earlier, in a leaked conversation, she'd told a colleague, if Trump stays in control, we'll lose another generation of independence. And yet here she was, on camera, calling him the only one brave enough to speak the truth. That contradiction hovered, thick in the air. Jasmine remained quiet, not because she lacked a comeback, but because she understood the most devastating. Truths don't need to shout. The host turned to her. Congresswoman Crockett, care to respond to that comment? She looked up slowly. Her voice was even. I'll respond, but not to mockery. I respond to choices, and my question won't be aimed at Karoline's words. It's about what she's choosing not to say. No one quite knew what she meant. But everyone listened. Online, thousands were already commenting. One side praised Karoline for standing firm. The other side supported Jasmine, writing things like, people who wait to respond usually know exactly where the trap is. The tension didn't escalate with shouting. It was pulled tighter with stillness. And then Karoline leaned forward, thinking she had the upper hand. I don't understand why Jasmine keeps attacking Trump. If she doesn't like him, fine. But bringing personal feelings into the halls of Congress and calling it principle? That's hypocrisy. It was a clean strike, timed, crafted, delivered with practiced calm. Jasmine hadn't spoken in nearly an hour. The host looked to her, ready to stir the next exchange. Instead, Jasmine closed her folder, placed both hands on the table, and spoke softly. "I have one question for you, Karoline. If tomorrow Donald Trump declares the election was rigged and claims Congress no longer holds authority, would you support him? Live TV has moments where the silence feels like a power outage." This was one of them. Karoline blinked. I think you're blowing things out of proportion." "No," Jasmine interrupted, voice still steady. "I'm asking, if that happens, what would you do?" Karoline hesitated. "I don't think that's a fair hypothetical. President Trump has done a lot of good." "But I didn't ask about the past," Jasmine replied. "I asked if he denies the system. Who do you stand with?" That question wasn't part of any briefing memo, and that's why it mattered. Karoline tried to dodge. "I think we need to focus on the larger context," Jasmine calmly said. "When the context becomes too big to look at clearly, that's exactly when we need sharp questions." Then, from the audience, a young woman stood up. She was an intern on Karoline's own team. Her voice shook slightly. "I'm sorry, but if the leader I trust started denying our system's legitimacy, I'd have to question whether I still trust them." No one moved. The host glanced toward Karoline, expecting her to take control back. She only muttered, "I don't think that situation will happen." Jasmine nodded once. "You hope it won't. But you still won't say what you'd do if it does. And that's the problem." A viewer in Wisconsin posted, "She didn't raise her voice, but she made it clear who's grounded and who's drifting." The clip of Jasmine's question spread quickly. No soundtrack, no edits. Just one question and one silence. The caption read, "You don't need to expose anyone. Just ask the question they've been avoiding." A senior political journalist tweeted, "Tonight's win didn't come from slogans. It came from a moment no one could script their way out of." The studio remained quiet. No cheers, no clapping, just a shift in gaze from Karoline to Jasmine. Not because Jasmine proved her rightness, but because Karoline couldn't answer. The host moved to the next topic, trying to break the tension. "Let's talk about leadership. Has politics today become too focused on image over substance?" Karoline, relieved, jumped in. "We need unity. People wasting time criticizing others instead of offering solutions are hurting this country." Jasmine said nothing. Instead, she opened her folder again. This time, she pulled out one page and held it up. It was a survey summary previously leaked from a Republican campaign research group. She held it steady. The camera zoomed in. 52% of Republican members believe Trump would undermine the system if he loses. It was clear. Verified. Sourced. Dated. No spin. Jasmine set it gently on the glass table. The light struck the numbers like a truth no one could unsee. "I don't need to say anything else," she said quietly. "The numbers will do it for me." Then a woman stood from the audience. Silver hair, a face shaped by the American Midwest. She wore a faded denim shirt and a small pin. Gold Star Mother, a mother of a fallen U.S. soldier. No one stopped her. No one dared. "I don't represent any party," she said, her voice raspy but steady. "I voted for Trump twice, but my son didn't die so someone could use this country as a mirror to admire himself." The room fell still. Miss Karoline said, "We must stay loyal." "I agree, but not loyal to a man. Loyal to principles, to the Constitution." Karoline lowered her head. Jasmine closed her eyes. No applause, no cheers, just the stage light falling, softly across the woman's stance, her hand trembling, but her gaze unwavering. "My son died believing that America would outlast any president." The photo of that moment, her standing with hand over heart, eyes turned to Jasmine, would later become an icon. No slogans, no dramatics, just silence no one dared interrupt. The host tried to resume the program. "We are deeply grateful for your words." But whatever came next, no one really heard. Because in the studio, among the viewers, and all across social media, only one question now mattered. Who is truly standing for the country, and who is just standing for their position in it? On the live stream, a comment was pinned to the top. "Politics doesn't need to be loud. It only needs someone brave enough to speak truth, or to hear it without looking away." And as the mother quietly returned to her seat, then toward the exit, one thing had become unmistakably clear. Jasmine didn't win with arguments. She won by not avoiding the one question that truly mattered, and Karoline didn't lose because her opponent was strong. She lost because she didn't dare say what she believed in the light. The morning after, political headlines read in unison. Jasmine Crockett flips the script with one question. Karoline Leavitt, silent on Trump. Question Gold Star mother brings. Studio to a standstill, but the biggest shift didn't happen on camera. It happened backstage, in an internal email and in the mind of someone no one expected to waver. Jared Collins, Karoline's senior communications advisor since 2022, known for being tough, loyal, and sharp, sent an internal email titled, "Silence isn't always loyalty." It was accidentally CC'd to a journalist known for publishing behind-the-scenes leaks. 12 hours later, it was public. In it, Jared wrote, "We taught her how to deflect, but never how to stand for something." I used to think Karoline represented a new generation of conservatives, but last night I saw someone defending an image, not a principle. I told her, "Don't dodge. If you think he's wrong, say it. People will respect that." She shook her head. And today, she's paying for it, through a silence louder than any statement. The message ignited a storm. Some of Karoline's supporters called it betrayal. Others, moderate Republicans, said, "Finally, someone said what we've all been thinking." Then a leaked audio clip surfaced, believed to be Karoline's campaign manager. Trump is still the necessary card. She may disagree with him, but she can't say it. She's the face they want to keep intact. The hashtag #LoyaltyTrap trended. On a news broadcast, former GOP Congressman Dan Hayes said, "I once thought Karoline was willing to move past blind allegiance. But if that audio is real, she may be trapped in the very image she built." Still, Jasmine remained silent. No interviews, no tweets. Just one pinned message on her page. "Blind loyalty always asks you to surrender part of your conscience." Replies split. "She's right. Everyone knows it. They're just afraid to say it." Don't pretend this is principle. It's just good politics. At a university, a media professor told her class, "Jasmine doesn't speak much, but she understands something most politicians forget. Victory doesn't come from shouting. It comes from preparation." Her question couldn't be answered without revealing what was being hidden. Karoline went on a conservative podcast to explain, "I think we shouldn't let ourselves be led by emotionally manipulative questions." That line was instantly clipped next to the footage of the Gold Star mother standing and Jasmine asking, "If he denies the system, who do you choose?" Video title, "The emotionally manipulative question that silenced the room." Top comment, "It wasn't manipulative. It was too real. That's why she couldn't answer." At a rally days later, Karoline took the stage. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Who did you choose, him or the Constitution?" She said nothing. Jasmine Crockett, still silent. But a bystander captured a quiet moment. Jasmine meeting the mother. In a parking lot, no press, no entourage. The two embraced. 3 days after the confrontation, a slickly edited video was released by EagleNet. Title, "Don't Be Fooled by Tears." It began with Karoline talking about loyalty. But Jasmine's question, gone. The Gold Star mother, omitted. The footage made it appear as if Jasmine avoided the exchange, but 6 hours later, someone uploaded the full, unedited version. Title, When you cut the truth, the video becomes the confession. Caption: here's what they cut and why. It spread fast. Millions watched. Journalists, professors, even skeptics of Jasmine shared it. One 45-second clip, Jasmine, asking calmly, if he denies the system, who will you choose? Hit 10 million views in 2 days. A law professor posted, she didn't attack. She didn't posture. She just asked the question every Constitution-loving American should ask. At a Pennsylvania law school, students wrote the question on a whiteboard. No hashtags, no attribution, just silence before the discussion began. Karoline's team pushed back. A statement read, she wasn't silent because she had nothing to say. She refused to engage in a staged political performance. But a producer released backstage footage. The woman who stood, an unscripted audience member, not prepped, not planted, a comment below read, when even the truth is doubted, it means it struck exactly where it should have. Still no comment from Jasmine. Only one new post. I don't need anyone removed. I just need the truth not to be erased. It was pinned on walls in law offices, classrooms, and libraries. No name needed. Everyone knew. At a conservative forum, a congressman stood and said, we built our campaign around strength. But sometimes, strength means facing what you'd rather deny. That got light applause, but it was still applause. A centrist commentator wrote, politics doesn't win on the stage. It endures when people begin to ask the questions they once avoided. The hashtag, #ChooseTruthOverPower appeared everywhere. Buttons, screensavers, stickers. Jasmine didn't start the movement. She didn't need to, because one well-timed question can become its own symbol. The Gold Star mother gave one interview. I didn't stand to make a statement, she said. I just needed to know who still thinks this system is worth protecting. My son did. What did she think of Jasmine? She didn't speak for me. She let me speak. The final photo from that night showed Karoline looking down, Jasmine steady, the mother upright under a shaft of light. No anger, no triumph. Just 3 people, each confronted with a choice. Caption: not everyone who stays silent is complicit, but those who stay silent forever are. A week later, a black and white still quietly circulated. No branding, just the mother, standing with hand on heart, Jasmine in profile. Karoline bowed. Caption: one right question can silence every image. It didn't trend. It didn't need to. It remained on professors' desktops, law library walls, and the minds of those who used to think truth only mattered when shouted. They now understood. It doesn't. Truth can whisper if it's spoken at the right moment. At a workshop, a journalist asked, if you were in Jasmine's seat that night, what would you have done? A student answered, I would have snapped back. Another said, I'd ask one question and let them show what they were afraid to say. The professor smiled and played the clip. Jasmine spoke less than 5 sentences, but by the end, everyone was listening to her. Political analyst John Milford summed it up. Jasmine Crockett didn't win by being loud. She won by refusing to accept that shouting is strength or silence is safety. She asked one question and let others reveal what they chose to hide. And Karoline? She kept campaigning, still speaking, still drawing crowds. But now, at every event, someone stood up and asked, who did you choose? Maybe not loudly, but always loud enough to be heard. The Gold Star mother refused every further interview. To a journalism student, she said, I don't need to tell it again. I just need my son to know I'm still standing on the right side. Jasmine Crockett never held a press conference, never claimed to be right. She just kept doing the work, and every time she spoke, people leaned in, not for an argument, but for the next question. Lesson? Silence isn't wrong, but stay silent. Too long in the face of what's wrong, and you may find yourself standing with it. One question at the right moment can be stronger than any slogan. So now it's your turn. If you were Caroline, and someone asked, if he denies the system, who do you choose? What would you say? Or if you were sitting in that room, would you have stood with that mother or looked away? Leave a comment, not to be right, just to be real. And if you believe truth doesn't need to shout, just to be said when it matters, stay with us. We don't create to provoke outrage. We ask, quietly but clearly, who's truly speaking for the country?